Okay. Hello. Today I'm here to talk to you about my novel, which is a work in progress. At the moment, the novel doesn't actually have a name, so I'll just refer to it as my novel at the moment. I'm quite bad at making character names as well as book names, so I think that's probably be the last thing I actually add to the book. But I'd like to talk to you first of all about why I decided to write the novel, then what the novel is about, and the things that inspired me to basically make the novel. Basically, you may gather from this speech that I much prefer writing to public speaking. I come to public speaking for their company, of course, and also to basically enhance my speaking skills, which I digress. I do possibly need improvements for, and I'm willing to learn. But before I did public speaking, I've been doing blogs for political sites, political commentary sites. I commented on things like foreign affairs. I did an article about Hugo Chavez, I did, when he got cancer and what the implications for Venezuela was. And I also did a blog about South Africa and the corruption scandals with the chief of police. And I have a personal blog as well, which I call Rantings, Ravings and Thoughtful Insights, which, I think bits of it are worth reading, but bits of it probably are worth forgetting. It's goes the personal to the political. So it's either way. I think writing, in a way, it kind of like gives you an opportunity to basically just lay things out and kind of take your time over it. You can put a lot of passion into things that you write, and I just think it's good because although yes, with public speaking you can have things recorded and you can look at it, to actually have something written down, to be quite proud of it, to look back on it, I think is it's a good feeling to have, and I like doing it. The idea for the novel, for writing an actual novel, came up because, well, I read quite a lot in my spare time. I do a lot of non-fiction and fiction, and often I kind of comment about my books to people friends of mine and my fiancée as well. And one day my fiancée just said, "Well, if you read this many books and you like these kind of books, and you hate these ones, you've got a good idea about what makes a good book, why don't you write one yourself?" And at first I thought that's a potentially disastrous idea, but then I kind of came around to thinking, I thought, well, actually, what have I got to lose? I've got some spare time, I can have a go at it, and I can basically share some ideas to some thoughtful critics and to basically develop the novel as it goes. I'm not necessarily expecting to sell it or for it to go anywhere, but I thought it was a remarkable personal achievement. To actually say I've written a novel would be quite an achievement. So, the novel itself, I've got down to, it's in a nutshell, it's a vampire genre novel set in Bristol, which one of you may think now, a name, it may come into your head that's been around in the recent vampire genre, is Twilight. Now, one of the reasons why I decided to make specifically a vampire novel was because of Twilight. I haven't actually read this Twilight yet, and God forbid me, I probably will have to read it at some point. But I've watched some of the films, and I wasn't particularly impressed by the characters. I thought even that parts of the character elements are quite sexist now. The main woman character was just pretty unremarkable. It didn't really have any dynamism about her. So I thought, well, it's a shame really. I think he could, if someone actually took a vampire story, tried to make some strong female as well, and male characters obviously, they could make something good out of it. And also I had the kind of thought in the back of my head that I kind of like to reclaim the vampire genre for Britain, because I think a lot of the vampire genre is quite American-centred, and I thought it might make a good a new pitch to try and pitch it into the UK. And where else other than Bristol, a city I've lived in for nearly 8 years now. So I thought I had a lot of personal experience in the place, so it would be quite personal. A lot of the book is mainly written from first-person perspective, so the sights and smells of Bristol I could well use, and I thought this is a pretty good angle to go from. And I thought, to be honest, it would be a bit cliche and a bit limiting to limit it to stick in London. I think. I mean, just I think for a wider audience, I like people, especially people not necessarily from this country, to know more about the UK, because it's more than one city that a lot of tourists go to. And I think it's a great shame that people don't look much beyond London and think that they've seen the rest of the country, which of course is not true. The vampire novel itself, basically in a nutshell, the idea is that it follows around a person in their mid-20s who has been conscripted into the human police for the vampires. Now, this person hasn't been selected because they're particularly skilled, or they've been chosen because their job set doesn't necessarily fit their background doesn't fit the job necessarily. They're picked purely because they can't be turned into vampires. They're picked because of just a twist by their DNA, and so he's basically conscripted into this police force, which at the outset has this kind of element of adventure, but over time he sees that actually this police force, which is secret, actually is quite used for quite a lot of shady stuff. It is, and it kind of like crushes his idealism a bit. He has to kind of like find his way, trying to kind of like do his duty and also to help and to wrestle his conscience. The vampires themselves, I've tried to put in less of a mystical element, but more of a political element. So I actually tried to think to myself, now, how would vampires actually exist in the real world, and what would their issues be? Well, the preeminent issues of these vampires is extinction. It is, because they rely on blood donations from humans, and because blood donations are already used for our own purposes, natural human blood is very limited that they're using. So it's a constant political struggle, and very controversially, the elite of the vampires actually have first grabs on the actual proper human blood. Everyone else has to live on synthetic blood or bovine equivalents, which have health defects which come with them. So that's a major political burning issue, and it's basically an element of control that humans have over the vampires. But also one of the conditions of the vampires living with the humans is that they actually have there's like a political pact where they can't have an army, they have to have be almost completely subservient to their human hosts, and next to their basically dwindling influence and the dwindling numbers makes a very extremism the vampires supposed to stand up and say we're not going to take this anymore, and it basically pushes the vampire community towards revolution. So the main character of the story has to deal with this and think about how to remedy this situation. Now, my inspirations for this novel is I tried to kind of think these sort of interesting, controversial elements in British life at the moment, and try to put them into the context of vampires living in the contemporary world. And I thought of basically the whole scandal like Hillsborough and basically post-Hillsborough police, and the whole elements of the fact that these days people are a lot less trusting of the police or anyone in uniform, and what implications that could raise. Obviously with the kind of story of the vampires being policed by humans, that has a lot of connections to today. It does, in terms of people not trusting people in uniform. Also, the issue of the tabloids going out of control is also included in that. One quite strong female character in it is this quite cocky, but quite sort of tough as nails, but quite honest characters. Is this woman who's a tabloid journalist who actually finds out about the vampires, the secret of vampires basically, and she's got a chip on her shoulder because she's always tried to make herself a credible journalist. So I thought maybe the tabloids, the whole controversy of the Levis inquiry would go into that, and also the idea of WikiLeaks as well, because this entire story has has this element running through it that the main character's story, has a heavy conscience about what they're doing as part of this police force, and they don't know what to do about it. So they consider the idea of actually leaking the information about the thing, but at the same time, because this is such a big secret, a big and massive thing for a very small cognitive machine to put through. As far as media inspirations go, I decided to I basically had the idea of you getting inspiration from cop shows, like there's The Wire, for instance, has like, it was actually advertised actually to HBO series before it went on. That's basically a show where the cops act as almost as bad as the bad guys, and there's a lot of element in this, certainly. If you've seen the Shield as well, which is basically a bit more of a kind of gung-ho version of the Wire, set in LA, that basically has a lot of like police corruption elements, but also police kind of using corruption to get results at the same time. So I think that's a kind of interesting thing to go on. So yeah, those are the ideas I'm working on at the moment. The only thing I ask of you is to not ask me when the damn thing's going to be written, because I don't know, and I've ended up in a middle phase degree at the moment, so the project is on, not on definite hold. I think at the moment I think I'm going to pick up the threads again quite soon, after I've done my dissertation. Thank you for listening.
You taking questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you said you've been in Bristol 8 years, so you know it really well.
Mm-hmm.
Where in Bristol would you say you're most likely to be attacked by a vampire?
A vampire or someone looks like a vampire. I don't know. Let me think. The thing is, I'm conscious in my novel, I don't want to kind of, I'm going to be quite vague on certain bits, because people will say, well hang on, I could go like a vampire get it by little fish ponds or something. I'm going to be quite careful with that kind of thing. Well, the only place I've been in physical danger was Lawrence Hill. That's when I was doing leafleting with the Lib Dems. I had kids throw rocks at me. So maybe that's where you get attacked by vampires. I don't know. But yeah, possibly I think it'd mostly be like, well, it was actually winter there in Lawrence Hill, so I guess if I stayed around there for about an hour or so, I may well have been attacked by a vampire. With rocks, maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
Right, this is a very serious question. I'm going to take it absolutely seriously. Are your vampires sparkly, moping wusses, or do they burn in sunlight like proper vampires?
Right.
This is deadly serious.
Things which kill vampires in my novel do not include crosses. They do not include holy water. Fire, sunlight, basically the two things that kill them, and decapitation as well. And as opposed to being wusses, I'm trying to take the supernatural element out of it. I'm trying to deal with it in this kind of like a scientific, or kind of a scientific way. So the idea is that they're not meant to make any scientific sense. They are, but I'm trying to treat the characters. So they're just basically people who live forever. So they haven't got any kind of like, they're not like super wise or anything. The only difference between us is that they're almost like more world weary because they've had a lot of experiences. If they're talking to a human, say for instance, they'll say, oh, if they look into the future, they'll say, well, actually, I saw this, so maybe this won't work so well. And also because they've had experience of human interaction for longer, they are very, very good liars as well. The idea of the human police is that they encounter like vampires with various kinds of personalities, but all of them, if they're because they are older than people, have experienced that lying and can do it different ways. And some of them are sociopaths, but some of them are just literally people who've just got good practice at it. So yeah, like I said, they're no more supernatural and like glitzy hairy fairy than anyone else.
I thought the plot was good, but you basically summed up the entire plot of True Blood, which is an American television series. And what your plot was True Blood. That is the same thing. From the revolution, from the synthetic blood, for all of it, it's the same thing. Have you ever seen True Blood?
No.
It was. I didn't think you had, and it didn't sound like you had, but you just summed up True Blood.
Okay.
So I think you've got it's a great idea. You just need tweaking it.
Okay.
So it doesn't. It's not exactly the same.
Yeah. To be fair, I plan to do my research, including True Blood and.
Great series.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good series. I got really hooked.
Maybe I'll watch Twilight, then watch True Blood to forget about Twilight.
Of course, Twilight's just filmed. Like, True Blood is going to take up a lot of your time. You're going to get addicted, and then you're just going to watch the entire series.
Yeah.
And there's like, it's like 40
seasons.
hour, yeah, it's like 6 seasons, 40-minute episodes or something. So you'll be at it for a while.
American seasons as well, and they go on way longer than ours.
Yeah, but it's yeah, it was eerily very, very similar. Like even in the tiny details that you were talking about, it's the same.
Guess I'll investigate that to get rid of the potential.
On
lawsuit.
On a similar point, I would also mention Being Human, which does seem to have similar elements to that as well.
Ah, yes, because
it's
it's actually in Bristol.
Yeah, that was the other point. Is Being Human is actually I think it's the first few series were actually in Bristol as well. No idea where, but you know.
Okay, do we have one more question?
Yeah, so are you going to focus on the conflict between humans and vampires or between the vampires themselves?
Am I focusing on which of them, I say?
Which conflict are you going to focus on? Humans versus the vampires or the elite versus the normal vampires?
A bit of both, to be honest, because it's from an observer's point of view. Obviously, the main character is basically a layperson within the vampire, the human police, and they, because they get promoted and stuff, they start from the bottom to be quite afraid of their superiors, but as they get higher up, they kind of realise more high-level corruption in the human police and speak up about it. And also, as the kind of duties of the person change, they get more aware of the vampire politics and stuff. So it's like it kind of eases more into like it starts off more from the human perspective, but the vampire conflict comes more in, and the vampire conflict intensifies as well. So it goes more into the story.